to talk about leads in your interview or not to talk about leads in your interview? That is the question. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Brokerpreneur Podcast. I am Dr. Ben Spears, the king of flow. And I am here with the big guy, as usual, Matt Vi. How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing fantastic. Another day in paradise. Great weather. Talking real estate. How can you not love it?
I know. I almost went out there and took the top off your Jeep just to surprise you.
I don't know they're quite there yet, but
yeah, but yeah, it feels amazing. It feels amazing out right now. So yeah, it's one of those things where, the only thing I'd rather do than be outside is being here with you talking about recruiting, man.
I know, talking about real estate, talking about recruiting. I completely agree.
So we got a hot topic today.
Oh yeah,
right. This is something that's like, man, we get all the time questions about, and I'm not going to spoil it. Tell us what we're talking about, but it's a hot topic word, that's for sure.
Yeah, to talk leads in a recruiting appointment or to not talk leads. And if you are going to talk leads, how do you have that conversation?
Yep, exactly. So, guys, if you're interested in that, stay tuned. But before we get to it, wherever you're listening to this, make sure that follow that subscribe button. You know the routine. Go to brokerpreneurpodcast.com if you haven't already and sign up for our weekly newsletter. We put our heart and soul into that and just make sure that we fill you full of recruiting value in between each episode so that you can grow your brokerage and grow your profitability. So, Matt.
Yep.
To talk leads in an interview or not to talk leads, do agents really even want to talk leads? We've had that conversation before. Yeah. It's almost like, what's a lead?
Yeah, exactly. So keep in mind, we've approached this topic a bunch of different times from a bunch of different directions, right? Yep. This isn't the first time we've ever approached it. Why do we do that? It's just like commission. It's something that you have to get fundamentally a very strong understanding of it to say it and deal with it the right way in an interview. Yep. So here's what I'd probably, this is why part of why we're talking about it today, right? Is the more experience the person gets, the less they want to talk about leads, and that is counterintuitive. Okay, but don't turn off the podcast yet. Don't start scoffing and all that.
Yeah, holding back their finger from the button.
Yeah, don't do that yet. Let me finish. Let me finish that thought. Okay.
Can't finish.
Yeah. So let me finish that. Let me finish that thought really quick. So we've got the more experienced an agent is, and the more productive they are, the less time they have. Mm-hmm. Right. And they've been to all the things that have promised them leads, whether they're buying them themselves, whether they're whatever, right? They're at a point, if they're experienced, and the more experienced they are, the more successful they are, the more they know how to generate the right kind of leads that they want to be able to convert. Yeah. So they don't want to really have leads conversations. Okay. Newer agents want to have leads conversations because they're kind of conditioned to that to be their vocabulary. Okay. The truth is neither one of them really want to talk about leads. They want to talk about closings, right? Yeah. But they make the two synonymous. They're like, if I get enough leads, automatically I'm going to get enough closings, right? Yeah. If you've got a very experienced agent that's saying, yeah, you just need to throw as many leads at me as possible and I'll convert those and I'll do whatever. What they're basically saying is throw that at me and I'm going to cherry pick the shit out of it. Right. Is what they're saying. Okay. Yeah. Be very weary of that. Okay. Yeah. So if they're, if you're hearing from somebody that they want to talk about leads, because that's one of the 4 recruiting pillars. We talk about it all the time. Absolutely. But a big part of the conversation is not just about the leads. It is about the conversion of the leads and everything, which is what we're going to dig into today. Yep. Okay. So just bear with me. If you completely disagree with what I'm saying right now, hold on. Let's talk through this. I love it if you disagree with me. Comment, call me, whatever you need to do. We can talk about it, but just hear me out on this because this is important. That's right. 555. Do not call. No, you got my number, everybody. Yeah. Oh, so do they want to talk about leads? They really want to talk about conversion. They want to talk about closings. Yeah, transactions. Okay? That's exactly right. They want to talk about things being completed. Okay. Yeah, but there's excuse me, guys.
But there's three things when you have this conversation that we're kind of going to go about today. That because they're going to have that conversation with anybody they sit down with. Everybody's going to talk about, some sort of lead generation, business growth, that kind of thing. It's the same. It's synonymous with like commission plans, right? It's going to come up. But there are three things that you really need to do when you're talking leads in an interview that really kind of make you stand out over the guy or gal next door, right? So let's talk about those.
Yeah, and it sets the appropriate expectation.
Yes.
Right, which is the key thing, right?
Yeah.
So let me give you an example of this, and what the first one we'll talk about is quality, not quantity. Okay.
Right.
Or have a conversation about where you stand between the two of those. If you can just generate leads all day long and you're just going to cover them up with like 984 leads a month, then absolutely you should be talking about quantity. Okay, that's what you should focus on in the meeting. Please understand, I'm not saying that if that's not what you're good at, then don't do that, right? But you'd probably be better off giving that to. Okay, so a whole different conversation.
Your dog.
Right. So or 90 different agents giving them 10 each, right?
Yeah,
because they're actually going to pay attention to them. But the so we'll talk about the quantity of them versus the quality of them in the conversation in just a second. But here's the thing that I'd like for you to kind of use this to judge how you want to deal with this. Okay. If you have agents that are currently in your office that are getting leads and you're handing them out, okay. There was whenever I was with the brokerage the most recently, my agents would get phone calls from other brokers saying, "Hey, I've got leads. Why don't you come over here?" Right.
Yeah.
And so, probably half of my experienced agents, when they got those calls, they would come and tell me. As far as I know, half, right? I mean, I would hear it a lot and everything. I don't know if it was half, but it felt like it was a lot.
Yeah,
right?
I've gotten texts while we've been doing a podcast before.
Offering leads, right? Yeah. And the first thing that comes to my mind, which I coached this in sales meetings, right? Mm-hmm. So I talked about this with everyone in sales meetings. Hey guys, how we can tell the market is really great is because you guys are getting a ton of texts and phone calls from people saying that they have tons of business for you and they're just ready to hand it to you, right? That's how we know we're in a good market.
Right.
And then I would say, which my experienced agents, half of them would come back to me and say this, that somebody wouldn't have an answer for this when this happened. Why aren't you giving those leads to your current agents? Do you really have so many leads that you have to call other agents in the market and tell them to come sit down with you? Do you have that many leads?
Bursting at the seams.
With leads, right? So why is it that you're not handing those leads off to your current agents?
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's incentive and it's part of their plan, right? I get that.
Yep.
So my agents, I would talk to them in sales meetings and I'd say, we know the market's going great and everything, but I would ask, next time you get one of those calls, if you just want to have a little bit of fun with it, just say, well, how come you're calling me a competitor offering to give me those leads and not giving those to the agents that are in your office? And 99 times out of 100, there was not a good response for it.
Yeah.
And my agents would love it because that's a little bit of fun, right? Because they would get these calls. That's right.
Yep.
But they would get these calls and they were like, well, as soon as I said that out loud in the sales meeting, they were like, well, hang on now, that does make sense. Because I'd ask them, how would you guys like it if I'm not giving you a ton of leads or you feel like you could do more business and I'm literally calling agents that are competing with you for listings and I'm telling them that I'm going to give them business? Well, how would you like that, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be careful with the conversation about how you market and advertise that. Okay. So again, not saying you can't, right? But you have to be careful with it. So it's not about the quality. It's about the quantity, right? Or it is about the quantity and it's not about the quality. Just have that message clear. Okay, whichever one that you do, just have that message clear. If you know how to generate leads, because I know you did this with your media company, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you would one of the agents that you dealt with, there was 400.
Get you as many leads as you want. Leads are not a hard to come by.
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, maybe if you're in my hometown is like 6,000 people.
Right.
Right. Just grab a phone book. Looks like a magazine.
Right. Right. And start connecting.
Right. But yeah, like online, that kind of thing. Like, yeah, you can generate names, numbers, email addresses of people who are actually putting them in themselves saying, yeah, I want to learn more. Pretty darn easy. But taking 1,000 leads in a month and saying, well, gosh, I can I can handle all these in a database, or I can
Yep.
do everything that needs to be done to make sure that they're all getting touched. It's like if you don't have those systems in place, right? And that's why agents need support,
Right.
right? That's like
Completely
they go to a brokerage, and how many brokerages have we talked about that are not talked about, but brokers we talked with who. They start their business and they're like, man, like everything's just about leads, right? That's what agents want, right? They just want leads, and they soon find out that it's not.
Right.
That's not everything that they want,
Right.
right? Because it's one thing to get a lead. It's one thing for me to hand you all the ingredients to, grandma's apple pie,
Right.
but not give you the recipe on how to make it and say
Absolutely.
make grandma's apple pie.
Yeah. And some people don't have a damn oven.
Yeah, that's exactly
Right. They don't have the right pan.
Yeah.
Right. They're just gonna put it in whatever pan. Right.
Yeah, and I don't know what thumb that is, but I've got like a burnt thumb, whatever that is.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So you have to make sure that you know who you are, and that's number one in the conversation.
Yeah.
Right. Are you going to talk about quantity or are you going to talk about quality? Right?
Yep, exactly.
So number two in the conversation is that leads are a means to an end. Okay.
Yeah.
So here's what I mean by that. If I'm having a conversation about recruiting with agents, I'm going to make sure that I talk about the importance of dealing with me making sure the agent is dealing with the consumer in a way that's going to get them referral business.
Yeah.
That way and then take care of it. That way they don't have to chase that next deal quite as hard.
Yeah.
Right. If you do 10 or 15 this year and 30 next year and 45 the year after that and 52 the year after that and 68 the year after that, and all of those people are happy. They're telling other people about you. And so now your business is growing more organically and you're not having to buy those leads. You're not having to lean into to chasing leads on a daily basis. Right. The people that you hear that are, they're 3 hours a day are making phone calls to that new business is because they don't have a database yet. Right.
Yeah.
Or they're trying to hit certain numbers and nothing wrong with it. Right. Everybody knows you can be extremely successful with picking up the phone and calling for sale by owners and expireds. Everybody knows that. Right.
Yeah.
But not everybody wants to always do that the rest of their life.
Absolutely.
Okay, so having the conversation that getting leads and how they get leads is a means to an end, meaning that if they're in the right environment, they're going to get the support to make sure that the leads they're getting today turn into 2, 3, 4 transactions in the future.
Yeah.
So that they're not constantly having to sit down every day for 3 hours for the next 10 years and 20 years in real estate and just smile and dial and hope that the right thing happens. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the argument. The argument is, Matt, you can smile and dial for 3 hours and do a great job. And next year, if you do a great job and pay attention to everybody, next year automatically you're not going to have to work as hard on that business. That's true, but if you're not in that environment, it makes it exponentially more difficult from a time perspective because you're always having to update your systems. You're always having to update the tools you're using. You're always having to update your knowledge of things. You're always having to change everything because the environment that you're in is not helping you stay ahead of those changes.
Yeah.
So if I'm recruiting, I'm gonna one talk about the quality or the quantity, right?
Yep.
Most often the quality, but let's just say the quality or the quantity. And then the number 2 thing is I'm going to explain that it's a means to an end, and how me as the broker, how my brokerage is going to help them not have to work as hard in order to get that repeat and return business.
Yeah, absolutely. Or spend as much money.
That's exactly correct.
Hey guys, this podcast is powered by Prospect Boomerang.
We all know broker owners struggle with profitability. Prospect Boomerang compounds your profits by recruiting the best agents to your brokerage.
For consistent growth, visit prospectboomerang.com. Right? So that brings us to our third one, and it's similar to like, how we talk about we always want to be part of your win. And that's, having that conversation that, leads, because, we talked about support, right? Leads are not the whole win. Right. Leads are just, a part of the win in real estate. And I would almost say, again, going back to quality versus quantity, if it's a quantity model, they're a very small part of the win from a real estate standpoint, right? If it's quality and, every lead that you come in like turns into a transaction, right? That I could see, all right, your leads are a big part, right? Kind of like a networking group, like Am Spirit. I get most of my business from Am Spirit. Right. That's a big part of my win. Well, let's have that conversation of, if you're a broker, you're talking in an interview to an agent of, kind of like, leads are only part of the win here at my brokerage.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You want to make sure that they know that there's a lot more to them being able to convert them and being able to stay in contact with them. But there's also a certain mindset that they have to gravitate to whenever it comes down to just scheduling their day.
Yeah.
Right. Because their day is, prospecting, pre-qualifying, and presenting. Right. That's 80% of your day. Right. The other 20% is the administrative stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Now that's not how agents spend their day. Right. That's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. But prospecting, pre-qualifying, and presenting is really where they should be spending the bulk of what they do. And so really quickly, prospecting is generating the business, right? That's going out and finding it and connecting and all that kind of stuff, right? However you're going to do that. Pre-qualifying is making sure who you're dealing with is the right people, okay? And then presenting is actually, presenting the offer, presenting your listing presentation, or actually being in front of people, the offer that you got, and presenting a counter offer and all that kind of stuff, right? That's those three main pieces of your day. Well, when if you're getting a quantity of leads, right, depending on how you're getting them, that middle part of that day, that pre-qualifying part of that day, swells up into this big, huge thing. Okay.
Yeah.
And in different phases of your business, that happens, right? When you're first starting out, prospecting is more, pre-qualifying is not as much, and presenting is not as much.
Yeah.
The more you're prospecting, connecting with people, doing the right thing, the more that you're on that end of the business, the more presenting you'll get to do. Right.
Yep.
And the more pre-qualifying you'll get to do.
Chain reaction.
That's exactly right. So, but if you're getting just a quantity of leads and they think that quantity of leads is their solution, a lot of times what happens is a lot of people skip one of those steps, right? So I'm getting a ton of leads. That means that I need to go show the house. Right.
Right.
And so they're skipping that pre-qualifying. Okay.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean don't go, because I know you did this, right? You tried to get them in the house as quick as you could, right?
Yep.
To begin that relationship. But whenever you got there, you were having those conversations with people. So tell me, when are you moving and are you pre-qualified?
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah,
absolutely.
right? Okay.
Yeah, it's the what, I don't know the number, right? Like 60-70% of the time they use the agent that they meet in person first.
Right.
Yeah, that was the whole point, right? Like, you get a lead and everybody says like speed to lead, that kind of thing. And I took that to heart,
Right.
Of course. I was meeting those people in the first day, but that entire first meeting was so scripted out in my head. Like I wanted to know what are the answers to the questions that were in my head, because you just, at that point in time, leads, were so readily available that there wasn't time to spend, on just every single person that, maybe you just wanted to go and, nosy neighbor,
right.
That kind of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. So this helps you if you understand having the conversation on the front end with someone. It helps you condition the agent the right way once they're on board.
Yeah.
Right. So now you don't have people that are just saying, hey, give me a whole bunch of leads and I'll meet people at the house and hopefully I can get them to sign a contract, because they're skipping that pre-qualifying. Because what happens is when they skip that pre-qualifying, as an example, they might get the contract together. They get them closed to the contract, but they don't get them closed to the closing table because things fall apart and financing and the person couldn't move and they had somebody else sell and whatever. Right.
Yeah.
So not skipping those steps makes a difference. That means that the agent really has to understand that there's more to it than just the closing. Yeah.
No, you're exactly right. So I know you have an action item for us.
Yep, of course.
Right? Guys, I'm going to put a little bow on this before we get to that action item, as usual. Wherever you're listening to this, whether it be iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Deezer, your favorite leads platform, right? Hit that follow button. If you're watching us on YouTube, what's up, guys? Hit that red subscribe button, that bell right beside it to get notified every time we drop a new episode. And guys, no better time than the present than to go to prospectboomerang.com. Check out all the things that Matt and I have in our company to help your brokerage, no matter what phase or stage of the business that you're in, grow and become more profitable. So Matt, hit us with an action item, man.
All right, so let's just say people are going, Matt, you're crazy. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Go talk to your top 25% of your agents. Walk out there and ask them, just whenever you get a chance, bump into them in the hall or bump into them in the virtual hallway in the Zoom room or in the sales meeting or whatever it is, and say, hey guys, so tell me really quick, how many transactions did you have last year? they're going to have, most of them, not all of them, most of them are going to have a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
Some of them aren't going to know, but right. You can ask them at the same.
All the zeros will know.
Yeah, the zeros will know for sure. Yeah. But the bigger question, right? How much money did you make? Right. That's going to matter. Okay. Yep. But here's the biggest question. This is the one that if you think I've lost my mind, this one will hopefully bring it home to you. You ask them how many transactions they did, and they're going to have an idea. If you ask them how many leads they have, how many leads they had last year, most agents are not going to have any idea at all.
Any clue. Yep.
I'll tell you when they start counting and when it starts mattering. As soon as they become a team leader, in other words, a company inside a brokerage, then all of a sudden everybody starts paying attention to that.
Yep.
Okay. Until then, there's so much going on, and it just gets prioritized a different way, right?
Yep.
So if you think that leads matter more than closings in the conversation on recruiting, go ask your top 25% how many transactions they had, and then ask them how many leads they have, and all it's going to do is verify what we talked about today.
Yep. Well, guys, I can tell you right now, Matt's crazy, but I can also tell you, homie knows what he's talking about. Crazy is maybe not the right word. Well, you said, I know you said I might be crazy. Man, I'm just trying to transition to the outro, Matt.
I hear you.
But Matt knows exactly what he is talking about. So if you're a regular listener, you know that. That's why you come back. You ain't coming back for my jokes.
It's a whole package.
Yeah. But Matt shares his amazing real estate brain with you every episode. I bring as many dad jokes, or maybe just Ben jokes as I would call them, to the podcast for one reason and one reason alone. Tell them why that is, Matt.
It's because we want to be part of their win.